Tools. Tool 1. Fraud and misrepresentation need amends. These two factors which can turn matters around in law are the presence of fraud and misrepresentation or mistake. Wherever there is fraud, amends must be made. Wrongs should be put right. While this ought to be the full outcome, and we would hope to receive recompense, and at the very least a wrong to be recognised, the best we may achieve is to no longer be bound by a fraudulent and corrupt system. I take the position that this is not for me to judge the wrongs of individuals and take revenge. The system is still very powerful and will act like a wounded animal in the face of that kind of confrontation. It will fight to the death to preserve its dignity, but merely by the threat or chance of them losing their credibility, thus ending their careers, you will be left alone. After all, there are plenty more stock to be milked when you have become too troublesome. By helping more pawns over the line, we create a strength that cannot be rivaled. Our strength is in our numbers, our solidarity, and unbending will and creativity in solving our issues. Tool 2. Addressee not recognised. By not recognising the legal name, you give yourself opportunity to establish the difference between the flesh and blood man and woman and the legal identity. Wherever you see your own name written with Mr., Mrs., Miss, Ms., or any legal title such as you, resident, occupier, occupant, it is not yourself. You do not need to recognise it as if it is you. It looks very similar, but it's not yourself. It is said to be a legal fiction. You can return all documents you don't want to receive on that basis. You were never informed that you had a legal fiction representing yourself, and the fact that it is a device being used to extort your value from you is fraud. The fact that this is being done under colour of law and office is extremely damning for people who have a fiduciary responsibility to people whom are placing their trust in the system and its authority. It is a gross breach of duty and a gross breach of trust. Tool 3. Tacit agreement. When you have laid out your terms and conditions of agreement in your notice of conditional acceptance letter, you will expect them to adhere to your terms and conditions of contract in order for you to make any further payment. Of course, they will not want to explain themselves in such excruciatingly plain light of day, but they will definitely still want your money, so they will throw their toys out of the pram and have a tantrum, telling all sorts of lies to make you give in and become soft again, so that they can get their way. Clearly, you will stick to your plan, but in order for you to accommodate their misbehaving without giving in, you put in a tacit agreement clause, which means you assert the outcome you want based on whichever action they take. Please respond within 10 days from the date of this letter, i.e. by Friday, the such and such of March 2017, providing a written reply of substance by traditional mail, rebutting all points raised. Failure to provide a written reply of substance addressing all matters here, including that of fraud, deception, usury, and extortion, or if you choose to ignore this notice, you are in tacit agreement with all matters raised, and that all demands for payment are null and void, and no further payment will be made. Tool number 4. Data protection. You can use data protection legislation as a device to deter these corporations and their CEOs from passing on your details to debt collection agencies and bailiffs. They may still do that, but it's worth getting all ammunition prepared for the battle and put the onus onto the individuals to take responsibility for their actions, whether acting for a corporation or otherwise. Please remove any private personal information from your system. I do not agree or consent to it being retained or used in any way. Any compromising of the private or personal information to third parties with respect to your name for any reason whatsoever is in breach of data protection laws, and action may be taken for any breach of duty by your organisation. Tool number 5. Notice to agent is notice to principal. This condition is necessary to make sure that whomever receives and reads your letter is made responsible. There is no way they can claim that one or the other hasn't seen it, etc. I have placed this in small type at the foot of every page of every letter by default. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. I also number all pages 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, etc. and staple them all together to ensure that a document is seen in its entirety and there is no room for misplaced or lost pages. Always make your own copy of your signed letter in its entirety before you seal it in the envelope, and then file that one safely with your letters in date order. Always keep a printed copy. Tool number 6, clarification of your status. Please note, for the record, I do not consent to the title you, Miss, Mrs, Ms, Madam. I wish to be addressed in the manner presented exactly at the letterhead. For clarification, I confirm my status. I am a private individual. I go by my natural name, a natural being of flesh and blood with full inalienable rights on the land, as distinct from the corporate legal fiction name or the assumed status of being surety or security to any debt or default in contract. As such, I reserve the right to contract with whom I choose on fair, lawful terms. All contracts created without full disclosure are invalid and voidable. Any intention to perpetuate a contract which was formed by deception is equivalent to aiding and abetting fraud. All corporate contracts have been created using the legal identity which was created at the registration of birth via the birth certificate. The so-called trust or bondage is a contract created by deception and is used deceptively to enslave individuals into a corporate system which detaches them from their natural inalienable rights. Where fraud is present in law, everything thereafter constitutes fraud, and therefore amends must be made. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I seek to rectify the errors made and require remedy. Use of the legal name and the requirement of filling in forms is enticing to aid and abet in perpetuating fraud under a foreign jurisdiction. The property, known as such and such, is a private dwelling where common law jurisdiction applies exclusively and shall be recognised as such by the removal of the postcode from any further correspondence. I do not consent to any other jurisdiction for any reason whatsoever, now or in future. As a private individual, I reserve my inalienable rights now and forevermore. Any further correspondence incorrectly addressed and to the title you, Miss, Mrs, Ms, Madam, or any corporate attachments used to imply anything other than I have specified above are irrelevant and will either be ignored or returned at the expense of corporation that you're dealing with. Tool number 7. Take the higher ground. By taking the higher ground and acting responsibly, accordingly, and honourably in all you do, you can aspire others to do the same and show others their mistakes which they may not necessarily be aware of. Most people are going along with a system of rules in the full belief that it's the right thing to do. By being a reasonable individual, you can be persuasive in your actions as well as your words. Show people that they themselves are responsible for their own actions, either in or out of a corporation role. I hereby put you on notice that you are now in full knowledge of the fact, and that any future actions taken in respect to this matter are deemed to be action with intent. The will to perpetuate fraud and deception in full knowledge with intent carries an appropriate penalty. We are all responsible for our actions. You are individually responsible for your actions as a man or woman under the common law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I seek to inform you of the grave matter of rife corruption within the current establishment with compassion, to ensure that you have opportunity to act from a higher awareness, and it is my intention to bring peace to all concerned. Tool number 8. Requiring proof of claim. You must form a strong conditional acceptance of terms and conditions. Things you can require as proof of claim by demonstrable means are validation of a debt, a certified statement of accounts proving something of value and a genuine loan of actual existing funds was paid and received. Require them to rebut all matters raised in your letters. Communicate by traditional post only. It holds weight as evidence. Never speak on the phone. Proof that contracts made under the legal name are valid contracts. Mention full disclosure, meeting of the minds, and valuable consideration. All future actions are lawful and respect your common law rights. Any injury, harm, or loss caused will result in a claim against all individuals responsible. Proof of contract. Supply evidence of signing by both parties and all evidence they will rely on in court. Provide evidence that a lawful contract can exist between a man or woman and a corporate entity or corporation. Please provide your response in affidavit form or statement of truth, sworn and notarized, under penalty of perjury. Tool number 9. Shining the light. If there's one thing the dark really dislikes, it's the light. Shine your light, and the dark cannot exist. Bring their actions into the light of day as much as you can, and watch them wriggle and squirm as they try to hide away and cover their tracks. Final notes. Stay in charge. Do not bow to their will or submit to their complaints process. Keep up any payments until they have not responded to at least one notice of conditional acceptance to remain honourable. Whenever they write back with their lies, clarify, correct, and expose them plainly and simply, but not with judging or complaining. Note their lack of response in your next letter. Do not be led. Do your business as you require. Keep it simple and to the point. Only engage as much as is necessary to remain honourable, and ignore or send back anything else once you have given them notice that that's how you will deal with them. Reject anything that you do not agree with as addressee not recognised, no contract. Do be sure to check out the references that I provided at the start of this presentation. I hope this helps, and I really wish you the best on your human journey. Look out for my further presentations, which I will discuss these kinds of issues from a higher perspective. Thank you.